So you just came across a video by either Mentzer or Dorian Yates, who built these ridiculously amazing muscular physiques training less using something called high intensity training. Well, you might be a beginner, or you might be very new to high intensity training. So you're wondering, well, what should a beginner program look like if this is my first time trying high intensity training? Today's video, I'm going to outline the exact beginner program that I would recommend to anybody just starting high intensity training. I'm going to go through each exercise, show you how you should do them with basic instructions, but make sure you stick to the very end when I share a slightly more advanced routine that you might also want to try too. So a beginner routine should work every major muscle group of the body, including the upper and the lower body. So my recommendations for a beginner is to start with a full body workout. One of the exercises you're going to want to include in this workout is a chest press. Now, it can really be any variety of chest press. It could be a dumbbell press, it could be a push-up, a bench press, but if you have access to a good machine, like a Nautilus machine, this is gonna be your best option. Now, one of the key tenets of high intensity training is taking each set to real, true momentary muscular failure. This is where your body activates the most muscle fibers and therefore stimulates the most growth. So each set in high intensity training should be taken to all out muscular failure. Now, a lot of people have a hard time conceptualizing or really identifying what this is. And this is one thing I spend a lot of time teaching in my coaching program. If you want to learn how to really take your muscles to the next level and train them to a degree where you're going to see the most muscle growth and the best results possible, click the link below, join my coaching program, and I'll teach you exactly how to do it. Because it's very difficult to learn how to do this on your own, just kind of guessing. So you're going to want to take each set all the way to muscle failure. And I highly recommend controlling the weight with relatively slow repetition cadences, between 3 to 10 seconds on the lifting phase and 3 to 10 seconds on the lowering phase. And the reason is it reduces the amount of momentum and external force on your connective tissues, which makes the exercise safer. And a lot of the time, it's a lot more difficult when you eliminate momentum. So a lot of times it's actually more effective. But as long as high degrees of effort are reached, training with slower reps isn't really any more effective, but it is a lot safer. Now, another key tenet of high intensity training is one set to failure is generally all that is required to stimulate the maximum amount of motor units and muscle fibers. So the goal really is to completely destroy and fatigue your muscles in one set. But what I found from coaching people over the last 10 plus years is that a lot of people who are new to this are not going to reach the adequate level of fatigue in just one set until they learn how to really push their body, which again, I teach in coaching. There's a link below. So I recommend for a lot of beginners, go for 2 sets, but take each set as far as you possibly can. So that way you're getting the highest amount of effort and the most amount of muscle fiber stimulation. So in the first exercise, we trained the horizontal pushing muscles. Now we need to train the posterior muscles, the horizontal pulling muscles. And the best exercise to do that is just a horizontal row. Now, there's a variety of machines you can use. You can use a selectorized machine. You could use a cable like this. You could do a bent over barbell, dumbbell row, even a plate loaded hammer strength row. It really doesn't matter. Some machines are better than others, but for the sake of this video, any kind of horizontal pulling movement is going to be all you need. And this movement is going to work the rhomboids, the lower traps, the rear delts, the lats, the biceps, pretty much all the major muscle groups in your back is going to be worked by this exercise, with more of an emphasis on the upper region of the back, because later on in the workout, we're going to work the lower region of the back, which is going to be the latissimus muscles. Now, when it comes to how many reps you should do before failure, I recommend anything between 6 and 12 repetitions. This is going to land you in between 60 and 120 seconds of continuous time under load, which seems to be the sweet spot for muscle growth. So in the beginning, the weight you choose probably isn't going to be correct. You choose a weight and it's too heavy. By the time you get to rep 4, you're saying to yourself, man, I'm about to reach failure. Chances are a little too heavy. Discontinue the set, drop the weight a little bit, try again. But make sure you're tracking the amount of weight you're doing and the amount of reps you're doing before failure. So that way you know when to progressively overload. And that way you also remember what weight you should be doing on these machines. Now, one basic tip about the row, especially if you're doing it on a cable machine, is try not to lean back as you're doing a row, because that's essentially your body trying to recruit the lower back muscle muscles to reduce the involvement of the muscles you're trying to work because they're getting tired. But the goal is to make those muscles tired, to recruit motor units and to stimulate those motor units. So by leaning back and recruiting more fresh muscles in your lower back, you're actually doing the opposite of the objective. So don't lean back on this exercise. If you want more detailed explanation of how to perform these exercises, I've got a school community that you can join with very long, detailed explanations and demonstrations on all kinds of exercises and all kinds of machines so you can know exactly how to do them. There's a link for that in the description as well. Now the third exercise you're going to do is going to be for the vertical pushing muscles, mostly your deltoids, your front deltoids, and the clavicular head of your chest. And the best exercise to work all these muscle groups is just a shoulder press of some sort. Now I'm explaining this in a Smith machine because this is probably going to be the best, most available, and safest option for most of you guys in the gym, because not all gyms have really nice shoulder press machines and a lot of them just really suck. And as a beginner, I do not recommend that you do a dumbbell press because it requires too much balance, too much focus on stability, which is going to take away from the focus on training hard. And that's where all the benefit lies. So a basic Smith machine is going to be an extremely good option for doing an overhead press because it keeps you stable. It guides the weight up and down so you don't have to worry about balancing or tipping over and trying to maintain your balance while you're at the same time trying to train your shoulders hard. And these Smith machines are just about in every single gym in the world. So the third exercise I recommend is just shoulder press, preferably a Smith machine or a well-designed, Nautilus or hammer strength shoulder press machine. All right, so we worked the horizontal pushing muscles, the horizontal pulling muscles, the vertical pushing muscles. Now we need to work the vertical pulling muscles. Mainly emphasize that big fan-like muscle in your back called the latissimus dorsi, or commonly referred to as the lats. Now this muscle group is pretty important because it really makes your back look big and thick and wide. So the bigger your lats are, the bigger your overall upper body is going to look. And this is why we want to choose a vertical pulling movement to really emphasize the involvement of those lats. And really the most available, best exercise you could choose is just a traditional pull down machine, a traditional cable pull down. Now as far as the handles go, you're going to want either shoulder grip or slightly wider in order to really get those lats, because the primary function of the lats is really bringing the arm from out here to in here. So as long as we are replicating that movement in this exercise, we're going to be training the lats really well. Now you don't want to go too narrow. You want to go shoulder width or a little bit wider. So keep that in mind. Now in terms of grip, I don't recommend doing the Mentzer supinated grip because the way people's elbows and shoulders are designed anatomically, genetically, they just can't accommodate that sort of carrying angle that will allow for a comfortable supinated pull down. So I recommend neutral grip or even a pronated grip. Now, if you feel like your forearms are failing before your back, or you feel like you have to discontinue the exercise because your forearms are getting too fried, you're not really feeling the back, well, it's a good idea to add in some wrist wraps or weightlifting straps that you can hook around the bar to take your grip sort of out of the picture. But if you're a beginner, I wouldn't do this just yet because you're going to have to allow your forearm muscles to catch up in strength. But eventually you might be doing a heck of a lot of weight on this machine to where your forearms are actually limiting how much you can actually train your back, in which case you're going to want some weightlifting straps, but it's probably going to happen a few months down the road. Now the last exercise you're going to include in this very beginner high intensity training routine is the leg press. Now I'm sitting here in a Nautilus duo squat leg press, which isn't a very good leg press. It's just really cool, so I chose to just explain it right here. The problem with this leg press is that you're training one leg at a time. So I noticed a lot of modern gyms that have independent work arms where you push one leg at a time or you work one leg at a time. This is ridiculous. Do not use these leg presses. First, because it's really hard to balance and push independent work arms with your legs evenly. And it makes absolutely no sense to train one leg and then train the other leg. You want to work both legs at the same time. So choose a leg press that has one plate that you push with both legs, not independent moving plates for each leg. Now the best choice of leg press is going to be a horizontal style leg press. And these are pretty much everywhere in commercial gyms. Now if all you have access to is free weights or a barbell squat is a really good option too. It just takes a lot of practice to learn how to do that exercise correctly before you can really start to push your body and get really good muscle growth. Well, the barbell squat is still one of my favorite exercises ever, but if you're a beginner, it might be a little rough on you. So I would say pro leg press. So if you guys are familiar with high intensity training, that workout design probably looks really familiar. And yes, that is the Big 5 workout, which I think is an excellent starting program for somebody new to high intensity training, and especially for somebody new to resistance training. The Big 5 protocol is a really basic protocol that was outlined in the book Body by Science by Dr. Doug McGuff. And if you're interested in exercise itself, or more specifically, even high intensity training, or just the overall science and physiology and anatomy behind exercise, buy the book Body by Science by John Little and Dr. Doug McGuff, one of the best books on exercise ever written. So the Big 5, those 5 basic exercises are a really good starting point. It's not the be-all end-all when it comes to high-intensity training. Most people can and should do more than what was just outlined in this program. And this is what I teach in my coaching program and in my school group. The links for those are both below. So after you start with this basic workout and you're ready to move on to something more advanced, join my community or join my coaching, and I'll help you get the most that you possibly can out of this awesome training method called high intensity training. Always, don't forget, hit the like, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you can be notified when I drop more of these high quality, in-depth videos teaching high intensity training, exercise physiology, showing you how to get the best results possible safely with as little time spent in the gym as possible. I'll see you guys next time.